My name is Jeff Surber with Great Basin Team 1, managing the Grizzly fire. For today's operational period, I'll start here at the I-70 corridor down towards Glenwood Springs and work north clockwise around the fire. So in what we call our Division November, which is No Name Creek. Yesterday, you'll remember there was a gap right here in this fire edge, and we were concerned about that picking up enough heat to throw spots across the No Name drainage. So we, around midday to late afternoon, we started a little burning here with one of the hotshot crews with helicopter support, and picked that up at one corner and drew it down here by about midnight. It got finished up last night. And so you'll notice on yesterday's map there is a kind of a pocket right in here that was unburned, and today it's a straight line going directly up No Name Creek. So that was a successful burn. We didn't get any spots across the line. Hopefully the heat will be dispersed enough this morning, and by afternoon heating that we won't have anything that flares up in here that can throw spots. So we're feeling real happy with the way that turned out. That'll get us up here into the Quebec area where our November in Quebec meet, which is the area from Grizzly over to this Coffee Pot Spike. So that portion of the line, as you remember, we talked about yesterday, this Grizzly Creek is real deep and inaccessible to our firefighters. So we won't be taking action down in that area of Grizzly. We'll be picking it up from this side over on the Coffee Pot campground area, and then moving back towards Grizzly to try to pick up these fingers of fire that continue out north. Over on Quebec Tango area, the Coffee Pot campground area. This finger was not on yesterday's map either. You can see how it pushed its way out to the north. That's another slope-driven run in heavy fuel that carries the fire. And when you get up here to the 10,000 foot level, it opens up into aspen stands and more open area where the fire can't sustain itself. So what happened here yesterday, in some cases, we're going to let the fire do what it does and work its way up to where we can take action, probably on foot basically, and walk along the edge where it's cooled down to put the fire out, rather than throwing aircraft at something that we know will basically go out on its own to where we can just pick up the ends of it. We don't expect it to cross Coffee Pot. We have a plan in place if it does cross Coffee Pot Road, but we don't plan to use Coffee Pot Road as a holding feature unless we have to. And we're expecting that most of the steam will come out of the fire out in here once it does its thing in the heavier fuels and the slope-driven runs. Moving over to our division whiskey. This is this piece from I-70 up to all the way really to here's where it hits Coffee Pot Road, and then over to Coffee Pot Campground is starting to look real good. As you recall yesterday, this pocket of fuel had burned out, and it's not wanting to carry farther to the north. We do have crews and dozers being deployed out in this area, which we had been concentrating more on the areas with more structures and more things that we needed to protect. And now we're able to move out into this area that doesn't have as many structures. There are a few out there, but there aren't as many, and we feel that a lot of them are naturally protected by the vegetation type. So I would expect that from 70 up to the Coffee Pot Road, we'll be showing some containment on this piece of line, probably by this evening. Containment means that we're feeling confident that it's gotten cool enough to turn. You'll see that on tomorrow's map, some of this red edge will have a black line on it, and that just indicates that it's that we feel comfortable with it. It doesn't mean that it can't ever escape, but we're getting more comfort with the fact that it would take a lot of wind or heat or some kind of abnormal thing to push it over that line. So we continue to monitor those places that we might turn black as a black edge, but we don't expect growth in those areas. Moving down to what we call our Division X-ray, which goes from the I-70 up to basically the top of the rim on the south side. It works its way through the Bear Ranch and Ike Canyon into Spruce Canyon, and then we've got Spruce Ridge, which we talked about yesterday as a nice big open barrier. We'll continue our efforts in there today. Yesterday we used a lot of retardant and water in here, and you'll notice if you were to compare a map of yesterday's perimeter to today's perimeter, we had this growth, we had this that we filled in purposely, and then we had a little bit of growth here, but we threw a lot of aircraft at this because of the structures, and it didn't grow near as much yesterday. So we're going to continue with our efforts. We have heavy equipment, we have crews, we have engines, we have a lot of stuff right down in here because of the structure threat in that area. One of the things that I should point out is today's expected to be a much lighter winds. Hottest day, I believe I heard the meteorologist say one of the hottest days in this string of heat, but light winds, so that'll be favorable to us. The heat won't hurt us as much as wind hurts us when it comes to fire growth. Moving around from X-ray into what we call Zulu, which is the whole top of the rim rock, where it's made its runs up out of the main Glenwood Canyon. We have dozer line. You can see on these maps we have all the X'd out, black X'd out areas are dozer line. You can see that the dozer line was put in here with the expectation that if the fire continued to grow, we could come back into this dozer line and use it as a holding feature. But as it hits the top, it probably won't hit our dozer line. So we'll probably go to what we call direct on that, where we put people in there, walk along the edge, use helicopters to knock down the heat, and then put it out manually along the edge with shovels and other tools. So that's kind of what's going on over here in Zulu. At some point in time, either while we're here or after we leave, we will consider we call it suppression repair. It's where we go back in, and any of these dozer lines that we've put in, most of these followed existing trails like two-track trails, four-wheel drive trails, that kind of thing. And we'll go back and try to clean those up and fix the disturbance that we caused at some point in the future, whether it be when this team is here or after we leave. But we don't do any of that until we start to feel like this edge here, we've shown that it's black and we don't expect it to grow anymore. Then we'll go back in and do that. From Lookout Mountain back to the I-70 corridor, back to the point where I started talking, that's our Division Alpha. He's got 2 crews and several pieces of heavy equipment down in here trying to finally line that. It was pretty much lined with aircraft early on. It didn't want to move through the retardant, then it started to move through the retardant, so we did put fixed wing retardant back in here again yesterday and used helicopters to settle this fire down so that those folks can get in and build an actual mechanical line there that we can defend off of. And like I said yesterday, we have what we call a structure branch that has probably 15 to 20 engines in it that can respond to any area of the fire that, as needed, they'll respond out if we have a problem anywhere on the fire. They'll come to our fire, but we also have the large initial attack area that we've been given by the local administrative units. And if there's lightning comes through or if a human-caused fire happens, then they'll call us and we can respond outside of this fire area to try to keep any new starts small. And that's the update for today.